Well, welcome to this second interview series produced by Global Farmer Network. I'm your host, Delaney Howell. And as part of the Global Farmer Network mission is to amplify farmer voices. And we're joined today by none other than Joanna Lidback, a Vermontian farmer. Is that the correct
Vermonter. I think we would say Vermonter. Yeah.
Vermonter. Okay, I love that. A Vermonter farmer. Joanna, thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about your farm and your background. As I understand it, you did not grow up on a farm, but you have the unique story about how you got into the dairy industry.
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of funny, especially calling me a Vermonter. I don't think any true Vermonter would claim me because I'm originally from Massachusetts. So up here, I'm known as a Flatlander. But yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts. My mom was a nurse and my dad was a minister when they were working. They're retired now. But we started with a 4-H project back when my older siblings actually started. And of course, being the tag along younger sister, I always wanted my own little cute brown calf. And when I came of age, my parents acquiesced and I got my very first calf. Her name was Annabelle. She was not the showiest calf, but I fell in love with her and I certainly started learning some big lessons with her right off when I was 9 years old. But we always lived somewhat close to a farm. So we would make an arrangement with the farmer who would house our animals and we would go up and help with chores, feeding, cleaning, bedding, whatever needed to be done, as well as train our calves to walk and to be halter broken and that whole thing. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and I think showing livestock is a little bit different than just raising livestock. It's kind of a different game. I grew up showing cattle, and the show cattle that you show are not the same ones that are going to harvest. And I imagine the same is probably similar in the dairy industry. Tell us a little bit more about the showman aspect of what you were doing at that young age of 9.
Yeah, that's somewhat true. I mean, so the things that I would look for in cattle that back then, these would be a fancy show calf, a calf that, maybe was a little bit bigger and a little bit wider, but yet had that nice feminine bone. Unlike your beef cattle where you want that nice coarse stocky bone, we want a nice feminine look to her bone. Um, and now I call it kind of like a perfect storm of a cow who is you can show and milks well in the barn. And we've been lucky enough to have a few of those. But you're absolutely right. It's a whole different skill set to show animals and but also to care for them. It's sort of like the showing comes on top of caring for them, and it's a lot of work. And my kids are just getting to the age where they're interested and want to do it. Unfortunately, we didn't have our act together this year to do it, but we're making a plan for next year. They've indicated that they want to show next year. They have also maybe broken my heart a little bit. They want to show Holstein cows, which, hey, I'll accept that. That's okay with me, as long as I can still keep my jerseys, and I still hope for my youngest, my daughter, who might want to show a jersey someday. But yeah, no, I think, having show cattle, there's a lot of life lessons that come with it in terms of learning, working towards something and winning, or working towards something and losing and picking yourself up and trying again. It's at the farm at the farm level, it's there's a lot of reward in nursing a sick calf back to health, or um, improving some aspect of the farm, whether that's production related or efficiency related. I was just actually thinking about this recently, that like each year we've really tried to work on something and improve something each year. We've and it's been a wild ride. So we've been farming here since 2008. My husband has. I joined him in 2010, and just the changes that have occurred over time. I sometimes ask my husband, when are we gonna, sort of slow down? When is it just gonna be steady as it goes? And he kind of looked at me and said, with you, honey, I don't think it's ever gonna be steady as she goes. So
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of irons in the fire, which we'll get to here in a second. But let's keep
Yeah,
it going in that chronological order. So, age 9,
sure.
showing dairy.
Yeah.
Fast forward, you get into high school and college. What do you do next?
So in high school and college, even just before high school, I got interested in some of the other activities that go along with showing, whether that was quiz bowl, dairy quiz bowl, and also dairy cattle judging. And I really took to the judging part because it was a challenge, and I always love a good challenge. It was a challenge to basically, dairy cattle judging, you are lining up the animals based on how you think they should line up in terms of their breed type and character and that sort of thing, and then you have all reasons where you would defend that placement. And I think just that thought process of defending, why you did something the way you did it, and doing it in a professional and a positive manner, it just it speaks volumes, and it's a lasting skill. I think I've carried that with me all the way through, 20, 30 years later here. So that was high school, and I don't know. I fell in love with the Jersey cow. And if you had asked me back then what my dream would have been, it would have been to end up on a farm with my Jersey cows somehow. And back in Massachusetts, that felt like such a pipe dream. How am I going to do this? And um, where am I going to go? And how, the, uh, the commodity milk market is not for the faint of heart. And in high school. So actually, I went to college. I thought that I've always had a good mind for numbers, and so ag business was just a real natural fit for me. I actually fell in love with Cornell University. You can see I'm somewhat of a pretty passionate person and sort of like falling in love with things. But I went to a graduation when I was a young girl. I went to a graduation at Cornell of a woman that I looked up to then. I still look up to this day, and just gosh, it had such an amazing impression on me that I think I actually found an essay one time when I was in sixth grade, talking about what is it going to be like when you go into middle school, and sort of, and I kind of glossed over middle school and high school and started talking about wanting to go to Cornell University. I was like 11 years old. So I went, I found a way, I made it happen. And I think there's something in that too, to sort of, set goals and achieve them and get there and do your thing. And so when I got to Cornell, I met such a wonderful network of people in the dairy industry through Cornell, and just that's really one of the best things that I got out of that program. I mean, on top of a wonderful education and on top of a wonderful college experience, but this network of people who had this same kind of passion and drive that I have, and who put that into the dairy industry, into agriculture itself. It's just been kind of a wild ride. So, you know, um, the fact that after college I ended up working with numbers and farmers, that made a whole lot of sense. I still had my cows at that point. My brother sort of managed them for us, and I started out as a loan officer for Farm Credit, and I got a wonderful training there, in financial management, in relationship management. Back when I started at Farm Credit, we did all of our own underwriting, all of our own analysis work. I mean, it's really just a very well-rounded um, start to my career. And I really appreciated the Farm Credit mission and motto, of building relationships that last generations. That's sort of where I landed after college, and staying connected to agriculture.
And Joanna, you mentioned you liked falling, or you were easy to fall in love with things. And we're going to pick back up with that tomorrow, looking at falling in love with your husband, Adam. So, folks, Be sure to drop us comments, questions for Joanna and future farmers that we have on this series, and join us again tomorrow for part 2 with Joanna Lidback.